Morgan Freeman finally reveals the 6 actors he loved the most. In a town built on illusion, Morgan Freeman has always been real. His voice, carved from patience and wisdom, has narrated more than films. It has narrated humanity itself. But even in an industry overflowing with talent and ego, Freeman's admiration is not given easily. He has stood beside legends, played gods and convicts, presidents and poets. Yet beneath that calm authority lies the quiet pulse of a man who remembers, who notices greatness not in fame, but in truth. Hollywood has a strange way of rewarding noise. The loudest names get the brightest lights. But Freeman's reverence belongs to those who embody grace in their craft, those who remind him why he ever stepped in front of a camera. Who moved the man who moved us all? Who did he see not as rivals, but as mirrors of the art itself? Tonight, we trace those answers through the stories, scenes, and silences of 6 actors Morgan Freeman loved the most, and why their artistry still echoes through his own.
No more. Come on, no more now. No more, please.
Clint Eastwood, the silent partner in moral gravity. Freeman once said that Clint Eastwood never needed to act tough. He simply was. Their bond began on the set of Unforgiven, a Western stripped of glamour, where violence had consequence and silence spoke volumes. Eastwood directed with a kind of stillness Freeman admired, a leadership without noise. That collaboration marked the beginning of a rare creative trust between 2 icons who understood restraint as strength. When Unforgiven arrived in the early 1990s, both men were beyond chasing validation. Eastwood, the once invincible cowboy, was deconstructing the myth of heroism. Freeman, long the conscience of other men's stories, found a role that gave his quiet authority its truest weight. The film wasn't about vengeance, it was about morality. On that set, Freeman saw something he rarely found in Hollywood: silence as command. He never raised his voice, but the whole crew leaned forward when he spoke. Freeman called Eastwood's directing music without sound. No shouting, no ego, just precision. Scenes unfolded with the same patience Freeman practiced as an actor. Between takes, the two spoke about craft, legacy, and the quiet dignity of work done well. It wasn't friendship in the usual sense. It was recognition between craftsmen who valued purpose over praise. When they reunited years later for Million Dollar Baby, that understanding deepened. Freeman's portrayal of Scrap earned him his long-awaited Oscar, but he credited Eastwood with more than direction. "Clint gave me space," he said. "He trusted the pause. That's the greatest gift a director can give an actor." Their partnership became a reminder that in a noisy industry, discipline is its own rebellion. Eastwood worked in silence. Freeman performed with grace. Together, they created stories that didn't demand attention. They deserved it. And in that silence between them, the audience could almost hear the sound of integrity.
They're like having children in the house. They want something, they just take it. Oh, he'll never admit this. No, Mummy said.
Jessica Tandy, the quiet teacher behind the wheel. When Driving Miss Daisy brought Freeman and Tandy together, he called her a master of presence. Their chemistry was built on subtlety, not spectacle. Freeman later said that acting beside her was like listening to music. Every pause, every glance mattered. Off-screen, she taught him the power of stillness and respect for time, both in performance and in life. Before the cameras rolled, Freeman already knew Hoke Colburn by heart from performing him on stage. Yet when Jessica Tandy entered the frame, she changed the rhythm entirely. Her acting wasn't performance, it was precision. Every word, every pause carried meaning. Freeman once described her as a living metronome, steady, graceful, always in rhythm. Their relationship on set was built on mutual grace. Freeman gave her space. She returned it in kind. In scenes that could have been sentimental, they instead found truth. He later said that watching her work reminded him that restraint can be louder than emotion. Between takes, they rarely rehearsed. Instead, they sat together in quiet conversation, talking about memory, music, and the slow rhythm of aging. To Freeman, she wasn't just a partner. She was a compass, someone who proved that control could carry as much power as passion. Driving Miss Daisy became a phenomenon. It earned her the Oscar and gave Freeman one of his most defining roles. Yet awards were never what he remembered. When asked about her years later, he spoke not of fame but of feeling, how she could shift a scene simply by breathing differently. Jessica Tandy taught Morgan Freeman that acting, like music, is built on silence between notes. And sometimes that silence speaks the loudest truth of all.
Well, why don't we have a seat and talk it over?
Tim Robbins, the idealist who taught him hope. On the Greystone sets of The Shawshank Redemption, Freeman found something in Robbins's Andy Dufresne that transcended acting. Truth, Robbins's patience mirrored Freeman's own, and together they crafted a friendship that endured beyond the film. Freeman later said Robbins reminded me what it meant to believe in light, even when you can't see it. Their bond remains a cinematic symbol of hope that refuses to die. The filming of Shawshank wasn't glamorous, it was grueling. Weeks of shooting inside a decommissioned prison left the cast drained and restless. Yet through that wait, Robbins remained calm, methodical, and precise. Freeman once said he never saw Tim break character. Not once, not even between takes. That focus impressed him. Robbins approached the story not as a performance, but as a belief system. The idea that endurance itself could be redemption. Freeman's Red and Robbins's Andy became opposites joined by faith. One resigned, the other defiant. On screen, their friendship grew out of necessity. Off screen, it grew out of admiration. Robbins often discussed script changes and emotional beats with Freeman late into the night, shaping the story's humanity together. Their connection wasn't built on ego or rivalry, but on shared integrity. Tim believed in hope as a discipline, not a wish, Freeman later said, and that changed how I saw the character. After filming ended, the friendship lasted. Freeman often credits Robbins for grounding him during the long, uncertain shoot, when no one knew if the film would succeed. Today, The Shawshank Redemption stands as a quiet monument to endurance, trust, and belief in something greater. For Freeman, Robbins wasn't just a co-star. He was a reminder that faith, in art or in life, is the truest act of defiance. Denzel Washington, the reflection of discipline. Freeman has called Denzel a craftsman who never misses a note. Their careers often paralleled, two pillars of gravitas in different shades. When asked which modern actor he admired most, Freeman once replied, Denzel, because he never lies. Their mutual respect defined a quiet brotherhood of purpose, two men carrying the weight of representation without ever letting it crush the artistry beneath. They came from the same school of integrity. Both men valued preparation over instinct, discipline over flair. Freeman once remarked that Denzel approached his craft with a soldier's precision, no wasted motion, no false note. Whether portraying Malcolm X, a flawed detective, or a father in Fences, Denzel brought authenticity that transcended the screen. Freeman admired that he never relied on charm to hold an audience. He commanded it through truth. Though they have never shared a leading screen moment, their connection runs deep. Freeman has often said that when he watches Denzel act, I see the standard, not the competition. That mutual understanding of responsibility, of excellence, formed an unspoken bond. When Freeman received his Oscar for $1 Million Baby, Denzel was one of the first to reach out. The two shared a brief exchange, no speeches, no grand gestures, just acknowledgement. Freeman later said that moment felt like a salute from one soldier to another. Their respect was not performative. It was earned through years of quiet mastery. Both actors reshaped what dignity on screen could look like for Black men in Hollywood. They carried weight with grace, showing that strength does not always roar, it endures. To Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington represents what artistry looks like when purpose meets precision. Two masters, two mirrors, each reflecting the other's light.
And those orders to make a preemptive launch. Every second that we lose increases the chances that by the time our missiles arrive.
Gene Hackman, the master of invisible power. Freeman often praised Hackman's ability to command a scene without force. They shared the screen in Unforgiven, where Hackman's intensity met Freeman's moral stillness. Freeman admired that Hackman didn't perform, he inhabited. For Freeman, Hackman represented a generation of actors who did not chase celebrity. They chased truth. Hackman's presence on set was quiet but magnetic. He did not dominate with sound or motion. He drew power from control. Freeman recalled how Hackman's stillness could change the energy of a room. Unforgiven placed them on opposite sides of morality. Hackman as the violent sheriff Little Bill Daggett, Freeman as Ned Logan, the weary conscience of the story. The tension between them became the film's soul. Freeman once said, "Gene taught me that power doesn't need to announce itself. It arrives and people notice." Between takes, Hackman carried the same discipline he did on camera. He moved slowly, observed quietly, and spoke with precision. He often discussed intention more than dialogue, the why behind every moment. Freeman admired that level of care. Hackman was not chasing emotion. He was building architecture. "He didn't decorate the work," Freeman said. "He built it." Their connection was rooted in mutual respect. Both men belonged to an era when acting was not about fame. It was about truth-telling. Hackman's commitment reminded Freeman that greatness does not shout. It simply exists. Years later, when Hackman stepped away from Hollywood, Freeman called it a loss of gravity for cinema, noting that his absence left a space only honesty could fill. Their collaboration in Unforgiven endures as a masterclass in restraint. Two men of opposite energy, bound by the same pursuit, sincerity. Freeman saw in Hackman the purity of an artist who disappears into the work so completely that only the truth remains. To Freeman, Hackman was not just a co-star. He was proof that stillness, handled by the right hands, can shake the world.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Sidney Poitier, the North Star of dignity. No name carries more reverence in Freeman's voice than Sidney Poitier's. Freeman has called him the reason I believed it was possible. Long before Freeman's breakout, Poitier had carved a path through prejudice with elegance and conviction. Their friendship became mentorship, one that taught Freeman not just how to act, but how to exist in an industry that often forgot what dignity looked like. When Poitier passed, Freeman said simply, "He showed us the mountain and told us to climb." For Freeman, Poitier was more than an influence. He was a vision of what could be. Watching Lilies of the Field and In the Heat of the Night taught him that presence could be power. Poitier never raised his voice to claim respect. His composure demanded it. Sidney never demanded respect, Freeman once said. He embodied it. His poise turned representation into revolution, redefining what leadership on screen could mean. When they finally met, Freeman described it as meeting the horizon, familiar yet infinite. Poitier spoke softly, choosing words as if they were promises. He treated Freeman not as a student, but as a brother in purpose. They often discussed the responsibility of being seen, the burden and gift of visibility. Freeman recalled Poitier telling him, "You must walk through doors so others may follow." That single idea became Freeman's creed. In every role that carried moral gravity, from Nelson Mandela to Red in The Shawshank Redemption, Freeman lived that message. He did not imitate Poitier. He extended his grace into new generations. Sidney Poitier did not just change film, he changed the measure of what it means to stand tall. To Freeman, he was not merely the first, he was the foundation, the path, the teacher, and the unwavering standard of what dignity looks like when lived without apology. In the end, Morgan Freeman's admiration is not about fame, it is about faith. The faith that artistry, when practiced with patience, becomes truth. Each of these 6 actors, Eastwood, Tandy, Robbins, Washington, Hackman, and Poitier, reflects the values Freeman holds most dear: discipline, grace, and dignity. They remind us that greatness is not always loud. It often lives in silence, in kindness, in the spaces between words. Freeman's legacy, like theirs, is not built on noise or spectacle, but on endurance, on doing the work when no one is watching, on choosing honesty over performance. These were not just actors he loved, they were teachers who shaped his understanding of humanity itself. What connects them is not fame, but faith in something simple and human. That truth, spoken quietly, still echoes forever. Share your thoughts in the comments. Whose artistry moves you the most? And if stories like these speak to you, subscribe for more journeys through the lives of those who made cinema worth remembering.